One Wheel community. Today we have the most recent winner of the Western ORL Regional Qualifiers, Austen Silva, as well as the winner of both Central and Western Regional ORL, or Oral, if you prefer, Qualifiers, Raequel McCosker. We brought him here. We're going to ask him the hard-hitting questions that you guys want to know. All right, let's hit it. So first question, this is one for both you guys. This one came via email from our friend Brooks McMahon. Brooks wants to know, how has it been from going from the board you're used to riding and then switching to a stock board for the second FM event? Do you notice more crashes on the stock FM board in those races? I think we're going to go ladies first on this one. Raequel, how do you feel about it? Do you mind switching boards? Do you like riding stock? Do you prefer your own? What's the deal?
Do I prefer my own? Sure. Yes. I think it isn't quite as big of a difference as some other people think that it is. And maybe that's an advantage for me, being able to still hop on that Vega tire and still use it. I think that my personal style of riding since day one, ever one-wheeling, was more of a surfy style where I use a lot of my front knee. And I'm not necessarily trying to think about going directly side to side. I'm more using my front knee to move forward and then to the side. So I think that that kind of riding style complements a Vega a little bit more than, say, other tires. And yes, I do notice a difference, but I lower the PSI and it's not that big of a deal for me.
Gotcha. Now, when you say lower the PSI, what PSI are we talking here?
Well, lower than 10. I'm going lower than 10, sometimes even 9.
Low is 9. Now, that may seem surprising. Usually on the internet, people say go with 10% of your body weight. And this is for more of an all-around thing. Is this lower PSI mainly because of like the chunk of the trail or specifically on the tire? Or what are you thinking? We're talking 8 to 9 PSI. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, well, it was super sharp and full of rocks everywhere. They didn't really get caught on camera, but this course in Vegas, like, we keep on thinking we need more and more protection, and it's like we get to the next contest and we don't have enough. I mean, there were one-wheelers going out and going to the mountain bike store, getting all sorts of protection and just cleaning out the store, because these courses, you have to prepare for falling.
I'm with you. It seems like racing's changed quite a bit. I remember FloatLife Fest used to be, t-shirt, shorts, didn't matter, right? Heck, sometimes not even a helmet back in the day. Now we're talking full face helmets. We're talking, full body gear, wearing upper body pads, lower body hip protectors, knee pads, elbow pads, wrist guards, going full bore on that one. So.
Absolutely. Gone are the days where you don't need elbow pads anymore.
I think I would agree on that one. Cool. Well, thanks, Raequel. Let's move it over to Austen. Austen, how did you feel going from your board that you used to, that you ride every single day, switching over to a stock board that you're totally unfamiliar with? How was that for you?
Well, biggest difference was the Vega, and Vega was decent on straight line shots on the pavement and on the gravel roads and some of the straighter lines through the tech section, but maneuvering around rocks, I turn with my ankles a lot, and that's harder to do on the corners of the Vega tire. In Arkansas, I crashed because I was up on that corner edge and hit a slick and didn't have the tread on the sidewall like I'm used to on the Trail Pro. So, it kind of depends on the terrain, but I definitely prefer my board, obviously.
Of course you do. And there were some differences in time going from your board running the exact same lap versus running the stock ORL certified board, right?
Yeah, definitely. I had a much larger lead in the actual race with my board. And yeah, the races were tight on the Vegas with, no advantage due to the board.
Gotcha. Now, would you attribute that to the board actually being able to go faster, or maybe your confidence is higher on your board, so you're willing to send it a little bit faster? What do you think the difference is there?
I could definitely go faster. I'm capable of going faster on my board, leaning being able to lean the board over more, take the turns at higher speeds, running the softer compound with the Trail Pro, you can go over the rocks without getting jostled very much. There was one section I got speed wobbles every single time with the stock board, and with my board, it didn't have any issues. It was coming off the tarmac into that gravel berm onto the gravel road. I got speed wobbles every single time.
On that stock board?
Yeah.
Interesting. Our favorite subreddit out there, r/Onewheel. We've got user Lago_B. Lago B wants to know, if you could only have one modification to your board, what would it be and why? Raequel, what do you think? What's that one mod you'd do to your board?
I would have a foot pad made out of urethane. And it is what I tell everybody when people give me phone calls saying, hey, what do I need? I just got a one wheel. What kind of accessories do I need? And it's just easy to talk about the foot pad because the TheFloatLife makes a foot pad out of urethane, and it just feels like the difference of wearing a clog for a shoe versus wearing just a tennis shoe in terms of comfort. So it's just kind of easy to explain that. And it just feels great for long rides and even just the comfort of a 20-minute ride.
Word. So the people want to know, cush high or cush low?
Depends on if you're doing a really long group ride or just tricks. But for the fusion of both of them, my opinion, cush low.
Cush low it is. Austen, one mod. What do you think? What do you go with?
Well, it's definitely close between a foot pad and a tire. But I'd have to go with Trail Pro because even with a flat foot pad, you can angle the board down more with your ankles, and that's pretty important to me for riding.
I'm with you. You heard it. Trail Pro, cush low. It's up to you guys to toss up whichever one's best, but choose wisely. And here's the good news. You can do more than just one. You can do all of them if you want to. You don't have to choose just one. So you're good to go. All right. Next question. We have another one from Reddit, r/Onewheel, from user Petty Goats. What kind of cross training do you do, and how much do you spend on that versus just riding your one wheel? Raequel, what do you think? Cross training? You ride other boards? What's going on?
Absolutely. I cross train with wake surfing. I think might be the closest related thing. I wish I could say I go surfing every day still, but I don't live by the ocean anymore. But we make it work. We wake surf, and I think it would be different if, say, I was goofy in one sport and then regular in another sport, but I'm regular in every single board sport, and I think it still helps. It's not like it's training me to ride any differently or anything like that. And even like when snowboarding, sometimes you're riding not the best terrain on the snow. It could be really icy or it could be really chundery. Well, we deal with that as one-wheelers too. And the same kind of muscles that you have to use to deal with the terrain that isn't ideal, you deal with it in both the snow and the dirt. And I think it definitely can cross over and make for a great transition.
That's it. So you heard it here. Ride other boards also if you want to get good at one-wheeling. Austen, how do you feel about that? You agree?
I agree. Yeah. I don't necessarily cross-train on boards very much. I've snowboarded for 20 years. Not very much, maybe once or twice a season.
Dude, I went snowboarding with you last year, dude. You were ripping. Don't be underplaying it. You shred, dude.
Well, I do a lot of, I ride my Sur-On and mountain bike, which is great for line choice and reading the trail, and also the speeds of those kind of make, going half as fast on a one wheel more predictable and settle the nerves a bit. Before this race, I expected the heat. I don't do well with heat, and my wife has a stationary cycle. I geared up in sweats and intentionally shocked my body to the point where I was laying on the ground for half an hour, and I think that helped because I didn't get fazed by the heat while I was out there.
I think you said two things that are pretty important. So I think it's being able to read the course and line selection. I think that was really the deciding factor and what's been the deciding factor in the last few races, because it's not hard to jump on a one wheel and go as fast as you possibly can, but you're probably going to crash. But that being said, it seems like being able to carry speed through chunky sections or really technical sections has really been the deciding factor. And then climate acclimation is something I've never heard of anyone doing in one wheeling before. That's wild, but that's stuff that comes from other sports, right? You know, you see athletes will travel to the destination where they're competing at and acclimate to the altitude, to the weather, that kind of stuff beforehand. So it's really interesting you did that. And apparently it works like a charm because you kicked ass and you smoked everyone. So good work, man. I dig it. All right, next up, we have a question for just Raequel on this one. This one comes from Reddit, user Samurai Punch. What's up, dude? Good to see you off of Discord. Raequel, when are you coming out with the cookbook or doing more baking posts on IG or whatever? For you guys that don't know, Raequel, excellent baker over here. Raequel, what do you think? What are we baking next?
Ooh, a float cookbook could be in the future.
Oh, you heard it here first. It's coming. TheFloatLife Cookbook. We're going to come up with a better name than that, but it's going to be a good one. All right, next question. Question for both you guys. Another one from Reddit. User -Beal, B-I-E-L-L, however you say it. Sorry if I butchered it. It's all good, though. So when you come up to a really rooty, rocky, sketchy part of the trail, what's your thought progression on how to navigate it? Austen, what do you think, man?
Well, if it's technical enough for me to stop and scout the feature first or the section, I'll stop and I'll kind of explore a couple different lines just visually with my eyes. If there's parts of the section I can't see or it's a drop, I'll walk down and check out the landing. But at trail speed, it's important to scan the trail. So I was taught now and next, which is basically you want to bounce back and forth between looking right in front of you and like 3 to 5 seconds down trail.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. That's one that actually took me a while to learn too. I remember early racing days, you know, I just look directly what's in front of me because I didn't want anything to catch me by surprise. Because, you know, you catch a rock or a root to the corner of your tire, especially riding a stock tire like we were back in the day, and that sucker will flip on you super fast. So it was always looking right in front of me. But with these super tech trails and line selection now being so important when it used to not really be, you really have to see what's coming in front of you and see what you're hitting at the same time. So constant back and forth bouncing. I like that. That's smart. Raequel, how do you navigate these things?
I try to look ahead, but there's only so much you can do when you're going so fast. So sometimes you have to make a decision to do it more the Dave way or the Dom way and still try to be as fast as possible.
The Dave way and the Dom way. I got to hear more about this. Okay, first off, what's the Dave way?
The Dave way, these are phrases coined just from my experiences in my mind, but I've talked to you about them. I'll talk about them again. So the Dave way comes from a story from Race for the Rail 2019 when I was competing against Dave in the North Star XR Enduro long distance race on Sunday morning. And I actually had placed, I can't remember if it was 4th or 5th, but against maybe 20 more men.
Yeah, you did really well in that race. Yeah. I remember that, yeah.
And part of it was because a lot of it was uphill. So I weighed less than some of the men and went uphill.
Neither here nor there.
Including, I was up ahead of Dave at first. But then, of course, when we start going downhill on more of the treacherous trek, I'm doing my best to try going fast. But I hear, right behind you, Raequel. On your right, Raequel. And I see Dave just go, plow, 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 chunk, chunk, chunk. And he just goes right over all of it. Still able to stay perfectly balanced and speedy as ever, Dave. And I know he is capable of weaving around everything, swiveling, but I just feel like from what I have seen of Dom is just really fast at swiveling through all of that kind of stuff and being very fast at being able to not even have to slow down, but use his body to just maneuver through it all at still such a fast speed. It's fascinating. So those are key phrases I think about to myself. Now, sometimes you don't have any time to even swivel anymore and you just have to do it the Dave way. But I think in an ideal situation, you would be fast enough to swivel just as fast as Dom does. And then sometimes people just aren't that fast at maneuvering themselves like that, and they have to just slow down so that they can see it and they can make the mind judgment of where exactly to go. So it's being a really good racer is being the best of all of those worlds.
There you go. Apparently you need to learn how to race like both Dave and Dom if you want to be the top. All right, next question we have comes from Reddit. So this is a good one. Did you see any competitors using V1s, pluses, or pints? If not, do you think ORL should have separate divisions for model-based one wheels as well as the age and weight protected divisions already implemented? Those are like the Little Tykes, Groms, and Clydesdales, right? Also, if you could pick where Race for the Rail 2021 is going to be, where would it be? So, two-part question. Raequel, what do you think? Should we have separate classes for pints and pluses and V1s, or do you feel like it should just be straight-up XRs?
If we're going to do something special for pints, maybe if we make it really special, make it like a relay race or something like that. I think that could be fun and interesting. But you're going to see just more enjoyment and more speed if we just keep it at XRs.
True. And it seems like these events already take a long time to run because we do have so many different classes as is just with XRs. And then if you maybe open it up to like say, hey, we're going to have pint classes too. Well, do we have to have a pint Groms? Do we have to have a pint Clydesdale? Do we have to have a pint Pro, pint Am? Like, might complicate things a little bit. So I don't know. It seems like the mentality and what we've been going through so far is sort of run what you brung. So if you want to race a pint, great. There's a dude who raced a pint out in Vegas and actually did pretty damn well racing a pint. So
I didn't know that Chloe Koslowski actually got second place on a growler.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Yeah, Chloe, Isaac's sister, super fast. She's only ridden what, like 200 miles or something? Yeah. But she raced the growler because she didn't have her board, so she borrowed one of our growlers. That was wild, and she crushed it. So, yeah, if you think that pints are awesome and you want to race a pint, by all means, race that pint. We'll see you out there. What do you think, Austen? You got anything extra to add to that?
No, I pretty much agree. I like the classes the way they are. I think we found a good balance of saving time and making space for everyone, but I think if we did do a pint class, it should be something exhibition, like just for fun, middle of the race. But yeah, I don't think we needed more classes.
Maybe a couples competition is in the works for a later competition.
Right.
You and Mercedes are going down.
Oh,
But
shots
really,
fired.
maybe the dirt surfers might beat us actually.
Nick and Rachel Payne, very possible. That's
I
why
can think of
fast
a couple others.
Yeah, we got Kyle and Allie out there too.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of fast couples
If
out
we could
there,
do a
so
relay race against us, we should do that someday.
that would be fun. All right. So, no pint class, but maybe a side pint race. That sounds really cool. This couples race thing, I think this is pretty intriguing. We'll see what happens at future events. All right, next question we have here comes from Reddit r/Onewheel, and we covered this one a little bit, but I think we could dive a little bit more in depth on it. So, how sketchy was it to ride down that gravel hill on a Vega tire? Are you used to having stock tires on your boards? I was watching it live, and it was really scary seeing people going insane speeds with a tarmac tire. Austen, what'd you think about that Vega tire?
Yeah, the Vega's okay when you're flying in a straight line. So yeah, the stretch down the tarmac, and then the two stretches down the flat gravel road and the downhill gravel was fine. But yeah, transitioning from the tarmac to the gravel, that one berm, and then also again going downhill, it was pretty loose. And anytime you got to get that Vega up on the corner, it definitely gets sketchy.
Yeah, there's not a lot of surface area on that corner from the really steep shoulder on that tire, so it's really a fine line. Do you find yourself getting speed wobbles on that thing when you edge it super hard?
Yeah, I got speed wobbles in the same section going from the tarmac to the gravel berm every single time with the Vega.
Now, Raequel, you have slightly different thoughts on the Vega, right? You think it's not half bad of a tire.
No, I think it's still great for beginners too. And even for me, myself, if I'm ever going to do tricks where I'm leaving the board and then landing back on the board, and I don't want the board like flopping over to the other side because I'm trying to master a hippie jump or like body varial type trick, I still think the Vega there's something to be said about the stability with that particular tire.
Well, it definitely has the biggest flat spot out of any tire. The centerline flat spot is really big. So if you are trying to do things like hippie jumps or body varial sex changes type things where you leave the board and come back on, it's typically less likely to roll on you, right? Because you've experienced a roll on a hippie jump before, and your new normal part, you broke your foot doing it when your board rolled, right?
Yeah.
So, makes sense. I see why you could like the Vega in some situations. I think you guys are right. It's not a terrible tire, but it's definitely not the best suited tire to certain environments, right? Like trick board, probably not going to be the best tire, but it'll work. Trail board, probably not going to be the best tire, but it'll work. As far as all around goes, I feel like you can make it work, but it doesn't seem like it's perfectly specialized in any one situation.
It's great for beginners to keep the board straight, and as people's leg muscles become acclimated to controlling the board side to side, like I see why they run it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point too, because when you're a beginner, you're not carving super heavy into turns, right? You're not getting up on that sharp shoulder. So it's really not an issue, and speed wobbles aren't a thing, I would assume, right?
Right.
So cool. So next question we have, this one's just for you, Austen. This comes from Reddit, and the user's name is Wee Woo. And he wants to know what's the best place to start if you want to get in the pro scene. I think he's asking, like, I want to start competing and maybe want to see how I start stacking up against people. Like, what would you tell Wee Woo about that?
Well, Wee Woo, I would say go find the closest, fastest people around you and ride with them as often as you can. The reason why we have so many fast riders here in Sacramento is because we all ride with each other and we all make each other faster, and our group's just growing. So you just got to get out there. And if there's nobody around you, if you're living in the middle of Alaska or something, pull out Strava and race against yourself so you just can keep pushing that edge further and further.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I didn't find out about Strava really until fairly recently. So Strava is an app that's typically used by, mountain bikers use it, runners use it. I know that. And you can just turn it on and you run these segments and it'll keep track of your time on those segments. And then you can see if you're going faster or slower that day than you have previously. And the cool thing with one-wheeling, there isn't an option for one-wheeling, but everyone's selecting ice skating for their sport that they're doing. So if you have Strava, select ice skating, and that's the one that you're going to be racing against all the other one-wheelers. All right, next question we have comes from Facebook, One Wheel Owners Group, and it's from Mark Tanaka. Mark wants to know, do you race your opponent, or are you really just racing against yourself? Does your opponent push you to your limit? How do you calm your excitement? Austen, I feel like I'm going to know what you're saying on this one, but I want to hear it straight from you. What do you think? How do you calm your excitement at these events when the pressure's on? You got 200 people. You got thousands of people watching you on the live stream. What do you do?
I drink CBD.
He drinks CBD. Calms the nerves, keeps the head clear. Any shout outs you want to do on CBD? What are you running? Because I'm guessing all CBDs aren't created the same, right?
Just, you got to find a good tincture and just kind of see what works. But yeah, tinctures I think are the best way to go. And just, they're easy to dose. They're pretty consistent. But yeah, you just got to find something that works.
Who would have thought Austin's been on performance enhancing drugs this whole time? I knew it. I knew that was a secret. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Raequel? Do you get nervous at these things? Do the nerves start to kick in? Do you get in your head, or are you just perfectly calm and just no problem?
Women are definitely stepping their game up and they're getting faster. I feel like both women and men have really stepped it up in the last month alone. I just feel like the new kind of fast is faster. The new fast is way faster. Even the new slow is faster than it used to be. It's all really getting stepped up like crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy because the boards haven't really changed a whole heck of a lot, right?
Yeah.
But everyone seems to be getting significantly faster. So that's really cool to see. All right, so without going into further discussion behind it, if you had to choose one race format, time trial style, where we do the individual stages, or head-to-head, 4 people race border cross, person across finish line's the winner, what would you choose?
I like head-to-head.
Head-to-head and?
Head-to-head as a viewer, head-to-head for sure. Sometimes in all selfishness, like it could depend on how I did that day, I guess. But as a viewer, I think head-to-head is way more interesting to see.
I'm with it. I like it because that way you know how you're doing. You're not just racing against yourself. You know where you stand with everyone. You see someone riding fast, you think, I could ride a little faster than that. They see you riding faster. They start riding faster. I feel like that pushes everyone to their limits. So I'm with you guys. Head-to-head, border cross style, I'm digging it. Next question we have. This one's just for Austen, and it's from Facebook Onewheel Owners Group, and it's She Sha. Hopefully I got that right. Sorry if I didn't. I butcher names real good. Question. I know that Raquel's background is wake. For you guys that didn't know, Raquel, pro wakeboarder over here. She's insanely good. She won Worlds in Korea one year. Pretty ripping. But Austen, do you have any competitive experience in any other board sports before?
No board sports, but raced a couple seasons of motocross. And yeah, I was definitely competitive with myself in mountain biking. But yeah, that's about it.
Sweet. Do you feel like your motocross experience transferred over to one wheeling at all?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely stretched my Overton window when it comes to like nerves and stuff. You know, nothing on a one wheel is going to feel like a 70-foot double on a motorcycle. So, you know, little wobbles and shoots and stuff that might scare other people affect me less, I think. And yeah, line choice, passing, yeah, probably some other stuff I can think of right now.
So it sounds to me like this stuff that absolutely terrified us and we think is way too gnarly. You're just like, another day in the life, dude. No big deal. Totally chill.
Yeah, I kind of think of things more technically than, you know, less clouded with anxiety and fear.
All right, now the hard-hitting question of the interview right here. This one's for Raquel. Raquel. This is from Nicholas Wheel Talk Gursky on Facebook Onewheel Owners Group. Wants to know, how often does Raequel McCosker remind Jeff she's the champ? The hard-hitting questions. We ask him right here. We ask him here.
Me. I'm the champ. No. I don't know. Have I ever?
No, you don't, but you probably should, to be honest with you. Yeah, if you guys don't know, Raquel just basically beats me in everything I love to do. It's so frustrating. Like, we go snowboarding, I hit a jump, and then she hits the bigger jump. You know, it's like that. It's been fun. I'm comfortable with it. It's no big deal. I'm not upset at all about this. Nah, she kills it. Good work, honey. Love you.
Love you.
All right. So this will be a fun one. This is a question for both you guys. This is from Jeremy Ryder from Onewheel Riders Group on Facebook. And they want to know, what improvement or modification would you like to see done to the one wheel or the app? And let's just hold it to one. You can make one change to the current one wheel right now. What would that change be? And how would you implement it? Austen, what do you think?
New, more powerful motor.
More powerful motor. He's not happy with the 750 watt hypercore.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the restrictions, and it's great for our trail access and on the street and everything. But yeah, I mean, if we want to go further out, if we want to explore larger tires, larger wheels, more suspension, it all, like, the motor is going to be the limiting factor, and that would be the first thing I change.
Makes sense to me, because now correct me if I'm wrong here, but 750 watts, once you go above that level, it restricts which trails and pathways you actually have access to legally, right?
I'm not sure about the wattage, but I know being restricted to 20 miles an hour is important here in California.
Yeah, that's definitely one. Yeah, and I can't remember if it's like class 2 or class 3 bikeways, but 750, I do believe I've read before that that's what restricts you. So you could go to 1,000 watt motor, but that might have different legal implications. But who knows? I mean, Onewheel is in this weird gray area in most places too, where it's technically not classified as a motor vehicle, but it's also not classified as something like an electric wheelchair. It's somewhere like in between the two of them. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes in the future. And with California being so PEV friendly with some stuff, but other states or countries really not being PEV friendly, it'll be interesting to see where they go. What's your prediction for the next Onewheel? Do you feel like they're going to go with a larger motor, or do you feel like they're going to continue to go sort of the direction they went with the last model, which was the pint, where they make it more accessible to more people as opposed to making it more powerful and more catering to the people that are riding it way more aggressively?
Oh, well, I'm not sure about the motor, but I definitely think they're going to go in the other direction and make a race board or a trail board, especially with all the competitions they've been putting on. I'd like to see suspension and maybe a slightly different platform to accommodate a larger tire. But yeah, I think that's the direction they're going to go to.
All right, bigger motor and suspension. Yeah, I think that'd be pretty sick.
For sure.
All right, and for our last question here, of course, it's 4 questions, but it's from Manuel Soto, our good friend from up the hill a little bit. He's coming in from Facebook, Onewheel Riders Group, and let's tackle these one at a time. So first off, how do you approach picking lines at speed? I think we'll go to Austen with this one because he is one of the best, if not the best, at picking lines with speed. So Austen, what do you think?
Now and next. So you want to constantly be scanning the trail ahead between now, which is right in front of you, what you're dealing with right now, and next, which is 3 to 5 seconds ahead of the trail. And the frequency at which you switch back and forth, it kind of depends on how predictable the trail is, how many obstacles there are. If it's super technical and there's a lot to be mindful of, you got to switch back and forth often. If it's a little more predictable, like riding on a pavement or smooth trail, you can switch back and forth a little less. But you always got to make sure to switch back and forth, and it's kind of a habit you have to build.
Okay, let's do this. Give me an idea of the speed we're supposed to be looking at. I'm going to throw the trail type out at you, and you move your eyes looking down and forward. What do they say? Now and next?
Now and next.
I want to see some now and next movement from those eyes. All right, so here we go. Riding on the beach, nice and smooth. Just cruising down the sand. Yeah, looks pretty slow. All right, all of a sudden, we're hitting a chunkier section. We're talking about tight technical downhill right now. Look at that. Look at that, smooth. All right, pavement, tarmac, smooth, mellow cruise. All right, thanks, Austen. That was cool, man. All right, so this next question, I think both of you guys will be able to answer this pretty well because I believe both you ride CBXRs from Chai Battery Systems. You run a regular CBXR, and Raequel, you're on the CBXR Mini, right? Mm-hmm. So do you guys feel like that there's a performance benefit to the CBXRs, or do you just feel like it's longer range, which is great? We'll go to Austen first on this one.
I feel like with a CBXR, you can ride the top 75% of the battery as if you were at 95%. There's no voltage sag, and it's just power. I mean, like, when it comes to consistent uphill, when it comes to the consecutive like rocks or features, roots that you'd catch that voltage sag on, there's just a lot less of it. It's almost not even noticeable on a CBXR until maybe 30-35%.
Gotcha. So you like the no voltage sag aspect of it, the fact that you've got that snappy top end response basically throughout the whole battery, as opposed to a stock battery, which runs great up until about 50%, and then you lose a significant, you feel like you lose it before that?
Yeah, like probably 75%.
75% you start to lose it. And then there's obviously another noticeable drop at 50%.
Yeah, it's huge at 50%.
Huge. And then do you feel like there's another one at like 30, 35?
Absolutely. 75% down, it's just constantly going down. Whereas with the CBXR, you're consistent probably 35 until you're down to 35%.
Gotcha. Raquel, do you feel the same way about your CBXR, or do you just love that extra range?
I love the extra range, but I do feel a bit of a difference. It almost feels as if I weigh less, if that makes sense. As if it's that much stronger in so much of a way that it makes me feel like I weigh 20 pounds less or so.
Cool. So it sounds like both you guys are big fans of CBXR and CBXR Mini.
Absolutely. One on every board I have.
Dang. Okay, there we go. All right. Next question. This one's going to be for Austen for sure, because you go uphill better than anyone I've ever seen go uphill before. It blows my mind. There's this one spot out at Granite Bay, which is like the local training grounds for this guy, that comes out of the parking lot, and it's so steep uphill that I looked at it and I went, oh, I don't even want to ride down that. And then I look over and Austen's coming in full tilt, coming out the parking lot, and somehow goes up it and makes the whole thing. So, Austen, what advice would you have for people to climb hills better?
Well, first is line choice. You definitely want to scope out a nice smooth line up the uphill. And then the other things are momentum. You definitely need to carry a lot of momentum. And where most people scrub their momentum is at the transition. So you have to have a smooth transition. You're coming up to an uphill. You want to squat down, and you basically want to send your body up that uphill. So you squat down, and you're just kind of doing a long jump up the hill. You want to go from moving your body weight towards the hill to moving your body weight up the hill, and it has to happen.
There's the hill. There we go.
It has to happen right at the transition. If you do it too early, it throws you off. You hit the hill. If you do it too late, you scrub all your speed off at the bottom.
Awesome advice. Thank you. I feel like my uphill game is going to improve. Hopefully, it probably won't, but I'm gonna try implementing those for sure. Okay, and then last question: how has the TFL balance board improved your racing skills? Because I know, Austen, you actually use the balance board like quite a bit at home, right?
Yeah, I was one of the ones that suggested that you do it. So
this guy taking all the credit. He's totally right, though.
So on a wobble cushion or a small ball, not like balancing over a cylinder, but balancing over a central point, you get a feeling of moving your body weight over, off of the point and back onto the point, and then back and forth between it. So with the one wheel balances yourself, or it balances you, so you don't really have to be mindful of that. But when it comes to making turns and you have your weight off, and if you lose traction or hit a bump, you have to move your weight back over the tire really quickly. And so similar body movements to do that. And then also at speed, when you're skating the line of a nose dip or over-torquing the motor, every time you over-torque the motor, you have nothing to balance yourself, so you have to get your body weight back and back quickly in order to pick that nose up and re-engage the motor, and it helps tremendously with that. Although nothing really helps with nose. I will add that going uphill and over-torquing the motor at lower speeds is a low-consequence way of practicing recovering your nose dips. And then before Arkansas, to prep for those speeds, I just went to my local trails and I geared up head to toe with body armor and everything. And I took the board as fast as it could go, and I nosedived at full speed 6 times in a week.
How'd your body hold up to that?
I rolled it out and I was perfectly fine. Just got to gear up.
Man, gnarly. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we've definitely found is a lot more important nowadays. And I know Raquel has told me this plenty of times, but it's like we used to race no gear, man. No gear, and it was okay. And now it's not okay anymore at the speeds we're racing and the gnarlier trails that we're riding, because the trails are way gnarlier than they used to be, and the speeds are consistently faster than they used to be. So it seems like getting the right gear is pretty important. So Austen, real quick, what's your gear choice like as far as protective gear goes?
So I run an IXS Trigger full-face helmet. And I have a Liat Airflex Stealth body armor with the full sleeve and elbow pads. I like that a lot. I actually got them because of the elbow pads. Because elbow pads tend to move around a lot, and once they're attached to everything else, they really stick in place. Plus, I used the chest protector in Arkansas. I hit a tree probably 15, 20 miles an hour. I wear my Liat hip guards. They're the impact shorts.
You've been wearing those this whole time?
I have. They're super comfortable.
How gnarly did you think this interview was going to get? You got to wear crash pads to it.
I was prepared.
Perfect.
No, we got it right after. So, and then yeah, I wear jersey and shorts because they tear less. I wear Ion K-Packed zip-up knee pads, and I wear full finger mountain bike or downhill gloves underneath function Ripper wrist guards.
There we go. That is quite the setup you got there.
Head to toe.
Head to toe.
Pretty much every time I ride.
Yeah, you pretty much wear all that gear most of the time, unless we're taking some mellow cruises down here by the river. But cool, man. Good to know. All right, Raequel, anything you want to leave everyone with here at the end of this interview?
Gone are the days where we can race without elbow guards.
Yeah, it's getting intense. It's like turning into a real sport these days, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Austen, anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, let's go ride.
I'm into that. Let's go ride. So everyone, thank you very much for sticking around with us. We super appreciate the entire community. I hope you guys got a little something out of this with all these questions. If you have any other questions, definitely comment them down below, and I'll shoot them out to these folks right here, and we'll try our best to get them all answered for you. I hope everyone can make it out to at least one of the big events this year, whether it be Wheel Scorcher coming up at Fire Mountain on June 11th, I think it is, that weekend, or Shred Fest, which is also June 11th out here in California, which is where we'll all be. We got TheFloatLife Fest 4 coming up out in Bentonville. I'm really, really excited for that one. That one's going to be insane. If you've never been to Bentonville before, it's like Disneyland for one wheels. So that's going to be a great one. And then we've got Race for the Rail coming up, which is TBD, and I think that might be like an invite-only type thing. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see. So there's always local events going on. Make sure you check out your local Facebook groups, Reddit, you know, talk to your local people riding around One Wheels. You see someone riding down the street, wave them down, say hi, be involved with the community, because at the end of the day, that's what One Wheeling's all about, is hanging out with the community. So hope you guys can make one of these events. Have a great time, and float on, my friends. Titties.
Yo, what was that? That was kind of weird. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you spending your time with us today. I really enjoyed this interview with Austen and Raequel. I personally want to see more of this kind of stuff. What do you want to see next? Leave us some ideas down in the comments below. Check this video out for your next viewing video pleasure. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and float on, my friend.